I so love how you said it's evergreen, right? That's the hidden gem of what we're talking about here. Because when people talk about marketing or content or whatever, 90% of marketing and content and all that stuff is not evergreen. It's a one and done. Everything from your business card to handing out a flyer to having a pen with your name on it, uh, that happens one time and then it ends and it goes away. Even at Google, right? You go into Google and you pay for Google AdWords or whatever it's called now. I don't even know what it's called. Like that's a one and done. You got the lead, you paid the money, it's done. It turns off. That's what we really enjoy about this type of stuff we're talking about. Is this is truly evergreen.
In today's video, I'm speaking with Marc Cunningham, president of RentGraze Property Management Real Estate in Denver, Colorado. Marc is also the founder and owner of PM Build, a training company dedicated to helping property managers with their business. In today's video, it's really a special one. Marc is going to go really in depth with us about how he 10x'd the business since he joined it, how he uses video to attract new leads to reach out to their property management company, what his content schedule is like for that video, and what his sales team is like in terms of the setup, how many people he has on staff that handle sales, and what that inbound process is like when a lead comes in. And then lastly, he'll also go over what he would change if he could go back in time to help his business grow faster. So stick around to the end of the video. There's a lot of really good lessons that Marc goes over. And without further ado, let's get straight into it.
Well, I got sucked in to the family business. So way back in 1978, my dad decided that he was done teaching school. He was an middle school teacher, and he opened up a property management and real estate company in Denver. And I was 5, 6 years old at the time, and I was free child labor. So my dad brought me in, and he would bring me to the office, and I would mow a lot of lawns, and I painted a lot of houses and pulled a lot of weeds. So I kind of worked through that. I mean, that's what introduced me to real estate, to property management. So I would spend my summers working for him. I went to Colorado State University, studied finance and real estate, and did some things in the real estate world, but not for my dad's company. I didn't want to be daddy's boy. Right? I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, you've always worked for your dad. So did some things in the multifamily world, bought some stuff myself, did some things in the commercial world. And my dad called me one day. This was 20 some odd years ago. And I was, our office is in Denver. I was living and working in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And he said, hey, I need to hire a property manager. And you want to come work for me? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because I hated Cheyenne, Wyoming, quite frankly. And did that at opportunity. At that point in time, we were pretty slow and pretty small, but that was kind of, I think, a very triggering event for the company, just because I kind of came in with some gusto of, hey, if I'm going to be here, let's take this thing. And I think my dad realized pretty quickly that he wanted to keep me around. And so after a few years, then he sold me some equity in the company, and I kind of came in as a partner. And that's kind of how I got into the industry.
Got it. And I guess being a family-owned business, how many properties were you guys managing when you first came on versus, let's say, now?
I think when I first joined him full time out of college, I think we were at like 125. I mean, I can see the Excel spreadsheet in my head, the little Excel spreadsheet we would keep with our property list. It was green and white lined, and we'd have property address and the owner's name. And I think it was very sophisticated. Yeah. I mean, this was Excel at its, I think Excel 2.0, I believe. I mean, how much more sophisticated can you get? And we get so excited when we signed up a new property, because you'd go pull up the spreadsheet and add the new client on there. So I think we were at the low hundreds at that point in time.
Okay. So at that point in time, you were a fairly small property management company. From what I gather, you had been working for a couple of years outside after university in other areas of real estate, or were you...
You
joined straight from college? How did that work?
So when I was going to college, I got a job at a property management company in Fort Collins as a leasing agent, because I knew real estate, I knew property management. So I spent my time in college. That was my job. I do leasing for this company. And then when I graduated, this company hired me full time to be an on-site leasing person. They kind of promoted me up and moved me to Denver. So I was at a multifamily complex doing their apartment manager. So I was this 21-year-old kid managing a 400 unit apartment complex, and I had all these maintenance people under me that were like these grizzled veterans of property management. And I was a terrible manager. I didn't know what I was doing. I led by my authority, and I'm their boss. And so I learned a lot on how to manage people, how to work with people on that. So did that, bought some stuff myself in the investment world. And then that was the triggering event then to come to Grace Management, my dad's company at that point.
Got it. And so obviously you almost brought it from, let's say it's very early days where you're just shy of north of 100, to now managing, from what I gather, around 1,200 properties. What were the biggest factors that resulted in that change? Like, how long had the business been around, let's say, before you joined it? And then how did you get it from, literally 10x, right? 125 to around 1,200 properties. That's a huge amount of growth since you've come on. What were the biggest factors that led to that growth?
Well, it started in 1978, right? So, I mean, he started with nothing when he started the company, and grew it to that point. So this would have been back in 1996, I think, when I came on at that point in time. I don't think there was any one triggering event where it was like, okay, now we're gonna 10x this thing. Like, I never said that. It was just always the idea of, we want to provide really good service to our owner clients. Growth, in our view, in my view, has always been the result of doing business well. I don't think I ever used the word growth or had growth goals. It wasn't that. It was just, let's do this really, really well. Let's be better tomorrow than we are today. And if we do that, what we learned is that the growth will come, right? The growth is the result of doing business well. Now we learned over the course of time, marketing matters. And I think that those early years, we probably grew in spite of ourselves, because we kind of didn't know what we were doing on the marketing side. I remember I was very proud of myself on marketing when I developed with our Yellow Pages rep the newest Yellow Pages ad for our company, because that was the way you marketed back then. Right? I mean,
This is probably early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah.
Yep.
The late 90s. I mean, that was it. Website was fine. Yeah, okay, whatever. Website, that's fine. But what does my Yellow Pages ad look like? Should it be in 3 colors or full colors? Should we go a half page, or do we actually blow up to the full page? Like, that was what marketing really looked like. So marketing for us was very much just a function of something you had to do. And a lot of it was word of mouth growth back then. There weren't as many companies around back then. I mean, it wasn't nearly as competitive on that side of things. But I think what really triggered our faster growth is when we started focusing on education as the marketing tool. And we didn't even think of it that way, but we wanted to educate. We wanted to educate owners. We wanted to educate tenants, whether they worked with us or not. And I think that we didn't mean to, but we stumbled into that, which worked really, really well. So now, fast forward to the end, and we can kind of go back and fill in the gaps there. But everything we do marketing wise is education based. We will never put out a marketing piece that says how great we are, or why they should work with us, or how long we've been in business, or our certifications. Nobody cares about us. They don't care about us. They care about knowledge. They care about education. They care about utilizing someone that they trust. So what we found is, if we educate people, then that establishes that trust. And then when they're ready to utilize somebody, to partner with somebody, they're going to come to us because they view us as the expert.
Agreed. I think that the days of just, pushing ads in front of someone's face, hoping that they see your service so they're going to sign up, are long gone. There's so much information out there, online, offline, that you need to stand out by educating people and showing them that when it comes to property management, you guys really know what you're talking about, and you know a lot more than what they think they know about property management. So I guess, just to fill people in, can you share with us some of the different sources you use to educate your audience?
Yeah, the biggest one is video. We realized this years ago. Video has the power to connect with a prospective client, or with anybody, more so than any other form of media that we've certainly found. I've read a lot of blog posts. I've read a lot of books. I'll never read a blog post and be like, I really like that guy. I like that lady. Like, no one ever says that. because you have no sense of the person. You may be like, that was very good information. But when you could take that same exact content, but if you deliver it in video format and someone hears you say it, they watch you say it, now they're going to come away with, yeah, that was good content. And I like that guy. I trust that person. No, I've never read a blog post and be like, I trust that guy. But I've watched videos of people and be like, yeah, I would trust that person. That, I think, video fills in those gaps that other sources of education, whether it's blog posts, whether it's a book, whether it's a magazine article, whatever it is, whether it's information on your website, that it can't do. That's what we stumbled onto on the video side of things. So now that is the primary mode of how we're going to do our education-based marketing, is through short 3, 4, 5 minute educational videos. And so these are not videos of, me standing with my phone holding out saying, hey, I'm Mark, and I just want to tell you that today we have a property on 123 Main Street. It's not that. It's talking about current issues happening in the industry, new laws. I mean, with all the crazy laws going on, if we want to play that to our favor, talk about them, because nobody knows about these crazy laws. So when we talk about the laws, those things get watched, they get found, and then that becomes the lead source for us. People will contact our office, and inevitably they stumbled across one of our videos on some social media site.
So you're creating videos, are you putting them primarily on YouTube, on your website? You mentioned on social media, like what's your strategy to get people that are actually, to get people that are actually going to see these videos, right? Because
Yeah,
you can create a video, no one ever hears about it. It doesn't do you much
exactly.
good. What
That's
are
right.
you doing to get your name out there so people are watching these videos?
So we very much agree with the statement you just said, and we kind of separate the idea of you could have the best content in the world, but if you don't distribute it, then it's worthless. It's useless.
Yeah.
I think where most people get it wrong is they focus on distribution, and like, I'm going to go distribute stuff to 1,000 places, but my content is crap. You've got to start with some quality content that people actually find interesting, and that's semi-professional. So once we get the content, right, we record the video. In the video for us, it's as simple and straightforward as me standing in front of a backdrop with a little wired mic and talking it with a screen next to me, where I've got a short little PowerPoint of like 3 or 4 talking points about the latest law that impacted Colorado. And I'll say, hey, hey, landlords, here's the new law that you probably heard about. Here's 3 things to keep in mind. Bang, 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 bang. And so we'll talk about that. Now, we get the content. What we do as a distribution side of things is a couple things. Number one, we do, it lives on YouTube. So we put it on YouTube and post it on that. What we then do is we have a page on our site. It's like a video education page. We consider it like our video library. That's our library of education site. So we backlink it to YouTube, so they all live on YouTube, but they're viewed from our site. We then create a blog post on our website with that same content. So now we have like 2 pages on the site where that lives. So we've got the video on the site, and then we have a transcribed blog post on the site where the video also is injected in the page. And
that way you're also hitting them with text as well as the video content. So, if someone prefers to read, they can read it. If someone prefers to watch video, they can watch the video.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And plus then, and you tell me if I'm misspeaking, because I'm not a Google educated guy, but as I understand it, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but then we also have the text on the site. So, right. So from an SEO standpoint, now Google sees the video, Google sees the text. So we kind of double dip on that. So now that's where it's going to be. And then from a distribution side of things, what we do is a couple things. Number one, we've got a monthly email blast that we send out to every contact that we have in our database. So that's all current clients, prospective clients, real estate agents, title companies, anybody that is a source as a potential owner client.
Okay, so you'll only send that to people that are a source of potential owner clients, right? Like you're not going to go send it to other property managers out there just to get views on it. Just
correct. No, we want to keep it pretty narrow. And I said earlier, one of the filters we use for the content we create is it's got to be education based. The filter we use for that is this question: can this video be watched by a current owner client as well as a prospective owner client? And if the answer to that isn't yes, then we didn't meet our filter, and we're going to scrub it, and it's not going to work. So what I mean by that is, because I think a lot of PMs find themselves doing they try this, but then they say something like this. Hey, we've got a really good deal going on right now that will provide you a free rental analysis on your property, and we'll do a free consultation. That becomes their content. Well, you wouldn't say that to a current client, because the current client's like, I already use you. And just conversely, you also wouldn't say, hey, here's how you log into your portal and access your tax records. And I'm going to do a video on that. You could do that on the back end, but that wouldn't apply to a prospective client. They'd be like, what do you mean? That's how I logged on my portal. So that there's two examples on both extremes. We want to come in and talk about content, talk about information that is pertinent to a client that works with us, to a client that didn't choose us, they went with our competitor, to a prospective client who's thinking about investing in real estate. That's what we're going after with this. Okay. So that's why our database that we email out to includes prospective clients as well as side by side with current clients, because this is just as pertinent to both of those groups. And with our existing client base, like, to get a little bit even nerdy on this, this really acts as a retention tool, we believe. That's as well.
Literally what I was about to ask you. I imagine that they start seeing all this content, it just helps further cement their decision to be working with you guys, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So even if they don't watch it, right, even if they're just like, oh, whatever, delete. Just the fact that that pops into their inbox and they're like, oh, Grace Management is talking about the new security deposit law. Good thing I have them working for me. Like, that's what I wanted to trigger. I want just to trigger that, oh, there's a reason I pay these guys every month for me. So when we talk about those things, that becomes that reminder of why they have us there. We've even had owners that have like moved on. I'm going to manage my own property or whatever. I sell, like, they leave us. They're no longer clients, but they'll specifically say, hey, please leave me on your email list because I like getting those education things. I mean, we've had that happen. We've had competitors that send our videos out to some of their clients to educate them on some new law when they ask about that, because they're not sales. So you just don't know how these things can roll on themselves in a positive way.
The great thing with content too is if you make something that's really good quality, that's evergreen, that video you shot 5 years ago can be bringing you in clients today, right? It lasts forever as long as it's something, that's still relevant in, let's say, today's time. It's going to benefit you for the lifespan of your company. So that's what I think a lot of people miss out on, that too, where they're like, oh, I made 5 blog posts or I made 5 videos and nothing came of it, right? But I'd say 5 is way too little to actually start to gain traction. Maybe you can comment on that actually. How long did it take you to start getting traction? Like, how many videos did you have to shoot before you started to be like, oh, you know what? This is starting to work?
Before I answer that question, just to comment on something you said a minute ago, I so love how you said it's evergreen, right? That's the hidden gem of what we're talking about here. Because when people talk about marketing or content or whatever, 90% of marketing and content and all that stuff is not evergreen. It's a one and done. Everything from your business card to handing out a flyer to having a pen with your name on it, that happens one time and then it ends and it goes away. Even at Google, right? You go into Google and you pay for Google AdWords or whatever it's called now. I don't know what it's called. Like that's a one and done. You got the lead, you paid the money, it's done. It turns off. That's what we really enjoy about this type of stuff we're talking about, is this is truly evergreen. Not only does it stay evergreen, but it grow. It's like a snowball. The longer it's there, the more it gets watched. The more it gets watched, the more Google promotes it. The more Google promotes it, the more it gets watched. The more, so it like, the longer it's there, the better it is. It's not a one, it's the opposite.
And the more content you create, essentially, the more real estate you own online, right? Yeah. And the more real estate you own online, the better the odds that new people are going to discover your company.
Yes.
So
I love that.
This makes me think of another client we have that has a podcast that he runs. And he's told us that by creating that content, although his content is focused on the market that he's situated in, it's actually brought people that didn't invest in that market that are now reaching out to him to learn about investing in that market and asking him if he could help them invest. Have you guys ever seen anything like that, where it was maybe someone that wasn't located in Colorado or the Denver market that reaches out to you and they're like, hey, you know what, Mark, I can see you know what you're doing. Would you guys be able to help me find a property and manage it?
It's crazy how much that happens. And it even gets bigger than that. We'll have people reach out from other markets that don't want to come into our market. They want to ask us questions about their property in Tennessee because they think we know what we're talking about. Same thing on tenants. I bet we get, Stephen, I bet we get 2 calls a week from tenants that are not ours. They don't rent from us, but they've been Googling, searching, whatever, and they're dealing with a landlord who they view as bad, shady, whatever. They'll call us and ask for our advice. Hey, my landlord's telling me that he refuses to pay my rent, or he refuses to accept my rent. Can he do that? And half the thing is I'm like, no, you are dealing with a shady landlord. But we get 2 of those. We have so many of those calls that my front desk person a couple months ago, she was like, Mark, we got to figure out a different way to have these calls come in. I'm taking too many. This is taking all my time. I'm like, oh, how can I help you? Oh, you're not our tenant. You're not our client, but you want legal advice? Like, we can't do that. She's like, we need a different extension. We need something, because we're getting so many of these requests for help from people that don't know where to go.
Yeah, I guess one thing you could try to do is put a disclaimer on where those videos are housed on your website, at least, just letting people not to reach out if they're looking for legal advice.
Don't reach out. Don't call
we
me.
hear that all the time as well from our clients, where they get people that are, someone looking to break their lease or something. They're calling in like, how do I break the lease on this property I'm renting? They're like,
it's crazy.
You're not even a client of ours. And
I have a question.
Tell you to break the lease.
I have a question for you. You mentioned a podcast.
Yep.
Do you recommend to your property management clients that a podcast, how effective is a podcast versus video for reaching prospective owner clients, in your opinion?
Yeah, I would say video would be route number one, or let's say plan of attack number one. So video, and then also content on your website. Once you have those dialed in and you're really generating a lot of traffic from both sources, being from the organic section of Google, you're getting a lot of traffic, and then also from YouTube as well, then I'd move on to a podcast. So it's they work really well, but at the end of the day, it comes down to you only have so much time, right? So unless you're going to have an unlimited budget and hire staff to do this for you in-house, you're going to run out of time. So I'm always of the mantra of focus on one course until success. Get one thing dialed in, get a return on it, and then you can start to move on to a second thing. Because if you start trying to do everything all at once, you end up just kind of with, a half-ass approach to everything. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, but I would definitely say a podcast will eventually start to bring in leads as well. I think it's just a matter of doing things well, and over time they start to pay off dividends.
That's good. That makes sense. Okay.
I
was before we move on, I was going to swing way back around to the original question that I dodged there earlier. You said, how long did it take before we started getting
traction
with this stuff? It's a little bit hard to answer, but one thing that we've kind of focused on is we're not ever really overly concerned with how many views we're getting. How widely dispersed is this? That wasn't kind of our goal with this. Our original goal with this was that when someone comes to our website, right? We didn't create this to get them to our website originally. We just created this as an educational tool to be on our website. So our first idea was, hey, when they come to our site and they want to learn a little bit about real estate investing or property management, we'll have this page with some information, and it can be an educational tool there. That was the original idea. So when we started doing it, I didn't care how many views we got on these things. I really didn't. What I viewed this through was a time saver, because I thought, you know what? If this video on how to evict a bad tenant gets watched 10 times, that's 10 conversations I didn't have to have about this topic with prospective clients. So initially, this was just about time savings. That's all it was. Okay. Go watch the video. I don't want to talk to you about it. Go watch the video on it. So that's where this originally came from. So what I always tell PMs that are doing this stuff is don't even pay attention to how many views you're getting, because it's just going to depress you. You're going to be like, I did all this work and I had 7 views in the last 2 months. Like, this isn't worth it. Well, I would say, no, hold on. That's 7 conversations you didn't have to have. Number one.
Exactly.
And if you got 1 client from it, was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it. This is not going to go viral. No, you're not going to get 1 million views when you talk about the new law that impacted your city on evictions. Like, a very small segment of the world cares about that. But those that do, need to hire a property manager type
Yep.
of a thing. So if you want to be
I
a
would,
YouTube star, this isn't the way to do it. But if you want to educate and be that out there, then it can help.
yep. An interesting way to look at it also is you would probably pay money to be in front of 100 people and talk to them about, you know, issues that are faced that landlords are facing in your local market, right? You can do the same thing through video. So yeah, you only get 100 views on that video. You look at that compared to other videos online, you're
Yeah.
like, that's not much. But as long as it's the right 100 people, it can be really powerful for your business.
Yes.
So ultimately, as you said, you can't think of this as something that's going to go viral. It's not, but you
And
will
if it
get
does,
in
it's
front of the
probably
right
bad.
audience. Yeah, exactly.
we
It's not going
we
viral because people love it.
we had one. So you'll like this. Our top video that was being watched. I don't know if this went viral, but it had like 25,000 views,
Okay.
and it kept like it was just spiking. But it wasn't for a good reason. So the video title was something like 5 things real estate investors should never say to their tenant. I think that was the title of it. And we're never anti-tenant on these things, but this one was like giving landlords advice when tenants bring them trouble on how to kind of hold your tenant to the line. So it was a little bit more forceful on, don't get railroaded by your tenants. And so while this got picked up and apparently promoted then to like tenant groups and tenant advocacy groups. So all of a sudden, because I get notifications when people comment, so all of a sudden I'm getting all these notifications of these comments on this one video, and it's like, this guy's a slumlord. Oh, this is the devil. We kill this guy. I'm like, what is all this stuff? And so I go see it, and like somehow it went by. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's going viral. But after just like last month, I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn this thing off because this is getting a little bit creepy with people hating me on this stuff. So got it. And I think that's an important point to remember is that these are going to be watched by tenants as well as owners. So it's really important for land or for property managers not to take the anti-tenant tone, right? Like we never want to be like, oh yeah, these stupid tenants, landlords, you can't, well, here's how you evict your tenant because they're terrible. Like don't do that. We want to come from a place of respect for all parties involved, and always remember that tenants are listening to these things as well. So don't take that bait of, oh, I'm going to talk negatively about some tenant.
Yeah, no, for sure. On the topic of content, last question for you. Do you have a content schedule that you try to stick to? Like we need to do one video per week, or do you just kind of go at it sporadically when a topic comes to mind? What's your schedule like for content?
So when we first started, like everybody else, I was just super busy. I mean, I didn't have time for this when we first started stuff, but I knew it was kind of important to get done. So initially, I said, okay, let's just do 2 a month, every other week. Let's get one out there. And so we did stick with that pretty well. After these things got rolling pretty well, and as you said, they're evergreen and they kind of live by themselves and promote themselves. So now we're just down to 1 a month. We'll just do one video, one blog post, and then one push by that email. Just 1 a month is all we're doing now.
Got it. So that's really not a lot. But I imagine that's because of the fact you've been doing this for so long that you have an existing audience. You've kind of like put in the hard work to get to this point.
Exactly. We've already got the library. That's the terminology we use, right? Yeah. We've already got the library that's working behind the scenes every day. So the older ones are getting watched, and we only need 1 a month for us.
Got it. So I imagine now you have a fair amount of inbound leads that are coming in. How do you structure your business from a marketing and sales perspective? Like, do you have someone on staff just for marketing? Do you have someone on staff just to handle sales? Like, what's your BDM situation look like?
Yeah, good question. We structure our company a little different than I think is typically done out there. We don't have what's typically referred to as a BDM or a business development manager. We don't do that. The way we structure it from the sales and marketing, on the marketing side, my job in a nutshell is to make the phone ring. That's what I tell people. Because like, hey, what do you do for Grace Management, Mark? You're the owner. What do you do? I have to make the phone ring. I have to bring the leads in. And I think PMs get this wrong when they try to hire. Sorry, my dog is snoring at my feet, by the way. So if you're like, what is he to have a stomach problem there? No, that's just my snoring dog. He's been on a few videos as well. He loves that. So what we really focus on is making sure that this is a relationship-based business. People want to trust who they're working with. People trust me. I'm the company owner. If I hired a BDM, if I hire someone to go out there and do this stuff for me, they're not me. So for company owners, I think this is something you as a company owner should be doing. This is the last thing you need to give up within the things that you're doing. Stop balancing the checkbook. I don't mean stop balancing. You stop balancing. Hire someone else. Stop balancing your own checkbook. Stop taking your own maintenance calls. Stop everything first. Don't stop being the content creator, because no one has the tone that you do. It's your business. You can explain it. You can engender trust like no one else can do. So even to this day, we're 1,200 doors. We've got a team of, I don't know, 30 people. I still do the marketing. I'm still the face on the company because I am. And I don't like it, but I am.
Have you read Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson? It's no, so it's basically a playbook for scaling a business from $0 to $100 million. So his whole take is, until you've reached at least $10 million of revenue, your sole job as the business owner should be focused on sales and marketing. Everything else, you need to find a way to get other people on your team handling it. But all you should be focusing your time on, or at least it says the 80-20 principle, 80% of your time should really be focused on growth, on sales, on marketing. The other 20% can be focused on the little things that you'll have to take care of, I'm sure, as issues come to fire and your staff needs help. But that just kind of, goes exactly with what you're saying, right? All your time is focused on that. And, I would venture to say that's a large reason why you've seen the 10x growth since you joined the company.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to pick that book up. So I still do the videos. I've tried to have other team members do it, and it has never worked well. So I just said, no, that's fine. I'll do it. This is my job. And so I do that. Then the way we flow that is when people contact us, they're typically thinking they're going to contact me, because in the videos it's me, and I give my email, I give my phone number. Right? So they're reaching out to Mark. So I'll get a phone call, I'll get an email, which comes to me. Hey, I want to get information. And then what I do is I forward that on to my VP, our VP of property management. He then takes those leads and he hands those off to our property managers. So we have executive property managers that work in our company. We've got 15 property managers. One of their duties is to follow up on new leads. We don't have BDMs. Our property managers do that. So the lead comes in, he's going to flow that lead to a PM based upon geography, right? Where is this property at versus where does the PM manage? Who's trying to build their door count based upon that side of things as well? Who has time? So he's going to hand that lead off. That PM then is going to follow up with that owner lead. And we've made the handoff pretty precise. So it is hey, Stephen, this is Susie with Grace Management. I know you reached out to Mark. Mark's not available today, but he asked me to give you a call. How can we help you? So there's the handoff, right? There's you're not going to be talking to Mark.
Yeah.
Because Mark's not available today. So I don't ever talk to the folks.
When you hire a property manager, are you also putting them through certain, let's say, tests or questions you're asking them to make sure that they're also capable of handling at least a little bit of the sales process?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I've had property management company owners say to me, well, Mark, I don't think that would work. I don't think property managers are skilled at the new account. And I just don't accept that. I push back on that, because what's the skill set of a property manager? They're good with people. They're good with tenants who have problems and owners who are mad. Like, if you're not good at that, then you're not a good property manager.
Yeah.
So for us, it's a natural fill in. Of course, they can talk to an owner. They're going to be working with this owner for the next 20 years managing their property. So if they can't explain our process and endear that trust, then they're not going to be a good property manager. So I just reject that idea that those things are contrary.
I will push back just slightly on that. So one thing I will say is,
please do.
You have a lot of inbound leads, if I had to guess, right? And I think the personality type of handling an inbound lead versus the personality type of someone that is going to go out there and trying to generate their own leads through outbound efforts and then eventually close that to become a new client for you is a little bit different. So I think the way that you guys have it, where you're doing all the marketing, you're generating all the leads for them, and then they just have to handle somebody that's calling in that's already interested. Um, I can see how, like, with your strategy, someone with that personality type, being a good people person, could definitely fill that role. I wonder, and you know, I'm not an expert by any means, but I do wonder if that same property manager would be capable of going out and doing outbound sales.
Yeah,
So
that's a great point. No, I hadn't even thought of that before, but I agree with you. If I said to my PMs, "Hey guys, you need to go shake the trees, like go
yeah,
find some leads," that would be very hard for them.
yeah,
They're not wired to do that. So I agree with you. But that comes back to my earlier point. Like that's my job. My
yeah.
job is to make the phone ring, and so our PMs don't have to do that. I do. I've got to go shake the trees. I've got to figure out how to do that. And it's not just social media stuff. It is getting in front of investor groups, and it is that kind of stuff. Someone has to do that. But then when the lead comes, then I'm going to hand it off to the PM.
Got it. So last question for you here. I appreciate your time. So if you were to go back in time to when you started this journey, what is the one thing you would change to help accelerate your growth? So to succeed at a faster pace, um, would it be you should start creating videos right away, or was there something else that?
I think I would take a different take on the answer to this. It wouldn't be marketing. I think I would give up control earlier. So
Yep.
as we were growing, we got to, I think it was maybe 550 doors or so. And we had a team of folks and everybody was reporting to me. And I kind of had two roles. I was the president of the company, meaning big picture, what direction are we going in? I got to have the big 30,000 foot view. But I was also what we called at the time our director of operations,
Yep.
meaning most people reported to me and I ran payroll. And if you got a problem you can't figure out, you bring it to Mark. And I manage all the people. So I was kind of wearing both those hats.
Got it.
And finally got to the point that I couldn't do it anymore. I was just burned out. I was neglecting both of those roles because I wasn't all in on either of them. And so I remember the day I made the decision, I was like, okay, I'm this isn't working. To get to the next level, we've got to stop doing this. And just to get my sanity back, I need to stop. So I'm going to just step into the president role and I'm going to step out of this director of operations role. And I was very cognizant and intentional. We had a team meeting. I remember this. We had a team meeting. I said to our team, I was like, hey guys, good news, bad news today. The bad news is someone's getting fired today. Someone in this room is getting fired. I'm kind of a smart aleck with my people, Steve. And I thought it was funny. Like I thought they'd get a kick out of this, but they didn't
Yeah.
think it was very
Oh,
humorous.
you're all
I said,
sweating.
yeah, exactly. I said, the good news is it's none of you, it's me. I am hereby fired from my position of director of operations. I'm not doing a good job there. I'm not in. I'm hurting the company. So I'm out. We're going to hire somebody else to do this. I'm going to focus solely on my president role, which includes marketing, by the way. I'm going to focus on that, growing the business, and I'm stepping out of that. And I hired someone to come in then as our director of operations that we call him our VP now. So I've got two VPs, but we hired someone there. And looking back, at the time I thought it'll cost the company a bunch of money, but at least I'll get my sanity back. Well, what I didn't realize is that by me stepping into that president role fully, and we paid for this person 5 times over in the first 6 months because now I could figure out how do we grow the business? How do we make more money? How are we more efficient? All those things that I should have been focusing on that whole time. So looking back, I probably should have done that earlier.
No, that's great advice. So basically, giving up control of the day to day and focusing on, as you said, getting the phone to ring.
Yeah,
Amongst,
yeah.
I'm sure there was some other things that you deal with as president as well, but really focusing
And
on
it's
the growth
hard.
aspect.
It's hard to give up control. I mean,
Yeah,
what's the phrase? You can have growth or you can have control, but you can't have both. Like we don't like that as business owners. Like, no, I want growth and control. Everything has to flow through me. Well, then you become the bottleneck, and you're putting a lid on. So
yeah,
I've it's been hard, but I'm pretty good about giving up control now. I'm a
awesome,
recovering control freak.
awesome. I appreciate it. So I guess just one last thing: if anyone wants to reach out to you, can you let people know a little bit about what you've got going on and how they can
Yeah,
reach out?
two ways. The best is through our website, pmbuild.com. That's where we put all of our property management education stuff. So a couple of years ago, we started creating the same type of content we're talking about here, but for property managers. How do you run a successful PM company? How do you create one? What issues do we hit? So pmbuild.com is where all that lives. And then our website for our property management company is rentgrace.com. If you kind of want to see how we're structured, how we reach out to owners and tenants, and how we do these videos that we're talking about, you can find those things there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate your time. And
Hey,
we'll
thank you. And I got to give you a plug though, because you guys do great work at UpKeep Media. So all this stuff, if people are listening and they're like, man, well, I can't, I don't have time for that. That's where you guys fill in, right? That's where you guys step in and say, okay, you don't need to do all the stuff that Mark was talking about. We will do that for you and augment that so that you, if you're not to the point that you can focus 100% and solely on that, you guys augment that, and you guys do a great job of that.
appreciate that. Thank you so much.